All right, fans, we're back here with it's Joe Youngblood with Chris Atkinson from SanctionPA and Souderton Wrestling. We're gonna do a little preview of District 1 wrestling here for the girls. Last week Nate, Glenn, and I put out our boys preview, and we're like a lot of firsts this year with girls wrestling being a sanctioned sport. Here's our first ever District 1 preview. Chris, again, thanks for taking some time out of your evening, and thanks for joining me. Let's hop right in and let's take a let's just look in District 1, see what schools, and you can talk to it, what schools are offering girls wrestling for the 23-24 season.
Yeah, we're up to 25 schools now. Souderton was the first to start. I think we were number 13 or number 14, and in the March to 100, and I got a little nervous there, but shortly after Souderton, the rest of the SOL league really took off, with Penridge getting us in at number 100. So we're at 25 schools now, and some of these schools are already doing a really, really good job at recruiting girls within their schools. Pennsbury, Pottstown, North Penn, Coatesville, every one of those schools has over 10 girls. William Tennant, Coach Stabilito down there is doing a really good job recruiting as well. Yeah, I mean, who would have thought, coming out of sanctioning, we'd have the momentum that we have. But most of the SOLs hopped on. The Pac-10 is right there. I'd love to start seeing some schools down in the south part of District 1 start coming to the table. I know we've got Downingtown West and Kennett down there. Sun Valley is a small team, but they have some really good girls there. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the numbers that we have this year. Just this past weekend, North Penn held a huge tournament, over 30 schools, close to 200 girls at their facility, a lot of District 1 programs there, and it was a tremendous tournament. It was really good to see, and cool seeing the numbers where they're at this year.
Right, you spoke to Pottstown. I feel like Pottstown always has had a pretty strong contingent of girls, and this was probably like an easy transition for them moving over and starting a girls program. I saw the pictures and read about the PAC first scrimmage they had, and Upper Perk seems to have a rather large team for being a new program. So it's definitely, like, to your point, some schools are doing a really good job of recruiting. Others are probably just happening a little bit more organically. I know, again, I can speak to it, and Jay, from experience, we have a small population of girls who have been wrestling, and again, we have a healthy number of girls in our Norchester program, and again, that's organically going to keep going. And I think with the sanction, you're going to see more kids and in those in different youth programs start to make their way in. As those more opportunities become available, those opportunities at the high school age level are going to start to trickle down to youth level and be more readily available. And I think it's a lot, from a father of two girls myself, like that's like was always the big apprehension was, and even for my own kids was, well, having to wrestle against boys, there weren't as many opportunities for that to happen. So again, truth be told, I did lose that argument with my wife, or I should say discussion we had about whether or not our daughters would wrestle. But with that being said, it is definitely growing from what I could see. And you mentioned about only having the two schools from the South. I think, like, with how it kind of spread in parts of District 1, I think, like, the next wave, you're going to see a lot of those programs start picking it up, especially when you see, like, the success the Sun Valleys, the Kennetts, and the Downingtown Wests are going to have this year. It's kind of almost going to force the hands of those other local schools in the Chestmont, and even maybe bleed into the Central League a little bit, where those schools start to sanction wrestling as well.
Absolutely. And we've had conversations with some of those coaches. Coach Bigley out at Avongrove, we had talk over this summer. He's got 2 or 3 girls out there competing on the boys team. They just didn't get the trigger pulled for the girls team, but I'm sure he'll continue to provide and support and have those girls ready for a girls postseason. Garnet Valley's another one. They have 1 or 2 returning state qualifiers on their team. They've always had some good girls numbers there. They didn't pull the trigger for a girls program, but without having a girls program, those girls can still compete on the boys team, and they will still be eligible for the girls postseason. So regardless of whether they have a program or not. Some of those other schools that we talked about, they'll they're still doing good by their girls, providing as many opportunities as they can, and they'll have their girls ready for the postseason.
So District 1 is not is our girls in District 1 have been wrestling are not new to the scene at the state level. We have a nice group of returning state place winners and qualifiers coming back. I know we got a graphic for that we're going to put up on the screen right now, and I know, Chris, you can speak to specifics about some of these athletes.
Yeah, I mean, right out of the gate, the top there, Haley Jaffe. She's a world bronze medalist with USA Wrestling this past summer. She traveled overseas. Um, yeah, she's lights out, and pound for pound, one of the top two or three girls, probably on the East Coast, not even the state of Pennsylvania. I mean, Haley Jaffe is legit. Caroline Hatala, this is only her second year wrestling at Quakertown. She's got a big, strong physical presence, and she blew through the state bracket last year, and again launched herself into the top 10 of the USA Wrestling national rankings. Sienna Landrum, go ahead.
We did a match at Quakertown, and Kurt Handel spoke so highly of her. And again, she went out and just competed with the boys. She wrestled some JV matches in the matches we covered last year with them, and he said it. She is going to absolutely dominate when she gets to girl states, and he was like spot on. He made that call like in December, and there you are, a few months later she goes out and just obliterates the competition.
The one thing about girls, and Caroline kind of represents this to a T. I find that girls are more studious to the sport of wrestling, asking questions. What did I do wrong, coach? Can you help me to get better? And that's girls up and down this list. Not that you don't get that from the boys, but I just feel like girls are so much more in tune to wanting to be a student of the sport and try and get better in that regard. Continuing down the list here, Sienna Landrum's been wrestling for the last couple of years. She had a great state tournament last year. She won North Penn this past weekend. I expect her to have a really good season. Isabella Diaz, from what I understand, was dealing with some injuries through the summer. I know there's some USA Wrestling events we tried to get her in tune with, and injuries just kind of sidelined her. I don't think you're going to see her on the mat this year and talking with her family. Continuing down the list, Ashley Stank, again, another Quakertown wrestler, just a second-year girl. Took fifth in the state last year. She went to Fargo for USA Wrestling. Again, just like Caroline, Coach Handel up at Quakertown knows how to develop wrestlers and athletes. And having two first-year girls last year place top 6 in the state, kudos to his program and developing the talent up there. And talking about Garnet Valley, there's one of those girls that, she doesn't have a girls program this year, but she'll compete with her boys team. And I expect Jessica Ayala to be, again, out at the state tournament and prepped and ready to go. Garnet Valley's always had a successful boys program, so she'll be able to gain a lot of good experience in there. You see 2 Penwood girls on there. Again, Penwood does not have a girls program right now, but they've had girls have success at the state level, and those girls are back again this year. Another Quakertown girl there in Peyton. Peyton's been wrestling for a couple of years. She's got Caroline as a practice partner. They're in there pushing each other every single day. And again, she was able to get a 6th place finish last year. Coach Stabilito down there at Tenet, Gabriella, I haven't seen her wrestle yet this year. They competed up at Executive Charter this past weekend. I didn't see her in the lineup. I hope she's not dealing with an injury or anything. It'd be nice to see her back this year. But Coach Stabilito and the program down there at Tenet, they're doing really good with their girls program. I know they just hired Amanda Walker from Upper Moreland and Wyoming STEM fame. She graduated from Pitt this past spring. She moved back to the area to start work, and she's in that William Tennant room helping each and every day. Again, for those that don't remember Amanda, she was, state caliber, national finalist at Fargo, all-world kind of girl, and she's bringing a lot of experience back to the region and helping with the Tennant program. And I'm sure in the spring we'll be helping a lot of other programs as well. Taya Wuchter, I saw her at North Penn this past weekend. She's got a boot on her foot. It was all bedazzled up. It was the funniest thing in the world. But she's sidelined right now. But I expect about halfway through the season, we should see her back and hopefully see her make a run at 100 pounds again. Um, Chichester, just like Penwood, another program, maybe not as much success down there in the Delaware Valley area as, some of the other schools around District 1, but they got a new boys coach this year. He has a granddaughter that also wrestles down in that area, and I'm sure, you can expect a lot from any girls that participate in his program. So yeah, I mean, District 1, um, has had a lot of success at the state tournament. And with our numbers growing and some of the newer girls coming up, I expect this to be another banner year as we continue to climb the ladder.
Yeah, it's evident. And seeing some of those names there, names of that you know I believe there's a Stank brother that wrestled at Quakertown. There was a Wookter that wrestled at Kennett. There's a Jaffe that boy that wrestled at Kennett. So to what we talked about in our last little show with Brooke, a lot of these sisters find a way onto a wrestling mat, whether because of a brother or not. So we're talking about, like, we talked about those returning medalists and 14 other state qualifiers that weren't in that graphic. There's also, we got to talk about the future. We have the top incoming freshman from PIAA Power. Jeff Upson does a great job of now including girls in that list. And we're going to take a look at this. So we have our top freshman. This was the one you saw if you watched our preview for the boys, and you see overall, this is overall freshmen. Not just girls and boys. This is the mix and based upon their accomplishments. And you can see right there, number 18, a familiar name that Chris, McKenna Atkinson, your daughter. I'll give you a chance to speak to her and Jameson Strickland from Sun Valley. So, are you familiar with Jameson Strickland's? Chris, we'll start there.
Anybody that follows me on social media knows that McKenna and Jameson have been arm in arm probably since they were 7 or 8 years old. They actually wrestled in state tournament once or twice. They've knocked each other out of area qualifiers for PJW. And again, I've got a picture of them from North Penn just this past weekend with their gold medals around their neck. McKenna started when my older son wrestled at Souderton back in the mid 2010s, like 2015, 2016. She was 5 years old, watching her brother wrestle, sitting at tournaments, getting drug around. And when she was 4 or 5 years old, she asked if she could wrestle. So we put her in it, and we never looked back. Ironically, for all the fighting she did to try and be recognized as a wrestler, over the years, her freshman year is finally the year that PIAA starts an official season. So that's kind of a happy ending. Jameson, again, her down at Sun Valley, her and McKenna, they've been friends and opponents over the last couple of years, but got very similar trajectories. Both McKenna and Jameson won PJW state titles last year. They've got previous PJW state titles. They've both won multiple Keystone state titles. McKenna last year was the first girl in the history of the District 1 middle school tournament to place. She took third at District 1 middle school championships at Quakertown last year. McKenna took fifth at Fargo over the summer. Jameson has been on multiple 14U national duels teams for USA Wrestling, and she's a very accomplished freestyle athlete. So, yeah, I mean, Jeff Upson and them, they do their homework, and if these girls didn't deserve to be on the list, they wouldn't be on the list. But they landed there because of their accolades, their accomplishments, and they've already built a reputation for themselves. But Jameson knows, and I told McKenna the same thing. High school's a different animal now, and it's you start from square one. Disregard everything that happened in the past, and it's time to start climbing the ladder and building a completely separate high school reputation for yourselves.
And that's great. So, we look at it now, and we're in the infant stages of girls wrestling in District 1 and the state of Pennsylvania for that matter. So like your dual meets aren't going to look like traditional dual meets, are they?
Not for most people. Souderton's actually wrestling. I had the coach from Pennsbury reach out to me a couple weeks ago. He wanted to start up a duel, and I get it. Duels are important because you want to get the fans there. You want to put a show on for the fans and get them interested in girls wrestling, and put the girls in front of the fans, and likewise give the fans the opportunity to see what girls wrestling is all about. So they reached out to us, and all fall, I was really apprehensive about doing dual meets until I saw what my numbers were going to be like. And right now, I have 6 girls capable of wrestling. We've had a few more girls, but we're battling injuries, and then educational issues. A girl sits out a week here or there. But we've got 6 core girls in our lineup, and it's like, is that really enough to go and do a duel with? We're going to give all these forfeits, whatever, but we're going to go wrestle Pennsbury on Monday night. We're going to count it as a varsity duel. Again, if we can get 6 bouts out of there, I don't care who wins or loses. I don't care if Souderton loses, because it's about helping Pennsbury and their school showcase, their girls team and their product at their home school. Likewise, our neighbors North Penn, they're going to come in here with their boys squad and their youth squad for our community night in January. And I reached out to Coach O'Neill and I said, hey, if the numbers fit, you've got a sizable roster. Like, why don't we do a girls duel as well? And help put some of these girls in front of all the North Penn and Souderton fans over here at Souderton. So that's what we're going to try and do. Other squads, again, Penridge comes over to wrestle our boys team. I'll reach out to Coach Brian over there. Hey, how many girls do you have? Can we make a couple? I'm not going to waste a competition point on it. I'm leveraging most of my competition points for individual tournaments to get my girls as much mat time as possible. But again, if Penrith comes over and I can make 2 or 3 matches, we'll just call them girls JV matches, and we'll use the girls JV points and at least get those girls some matches in front of the crowd, and give them some experience. So that's kind of how I'm going to play my dual schedule for the year. And I think you're going to find that most schools, at least in District 1, are probably doing something similarly. Instead of wasting all their varsity competition points, they'll probably pair up where they can. They'll call the girls JV match, and they'll use the JV points. Now, if you head out towards District 3 and you got schools like Cumberland Valley and Gettysburg, JP McCaskey, who are right there filling their duels lineups, they're wrestling a legit dual meet schedule this year. I know Cumberland Valley has an 8-team duels coming up in the next couple of weeks that's going to pair pretty much the top largest or best duels teams in the state. Gettysburg, Cannon Mac, Cumberland Valley. There'll be a couple others there. We're getting there. And I think anybody that's watched the numbers the last year or two and then sees what the numbers are right now knows that we're getting there. And in some pockets, it may take a couple more years to get to the point where we're battling duels like the boys teams are, but we're for sure getting there.
So I got 2 questions for you. I know you got to go. You kind of answered one of them, but I'm just going to give you, kind of reframe a little bit. So if a coach reaches out to you, and what would be your advice if a coach reaches out and says, hey, would you share the spotlight with the boys team, to get and like I said, you did kind of answer, would you share the spotlight with the boys team in an effort to get more eyes on your program? Like, for example, you don't see it as it taking like anything away from the girls program to share, the gym with the boys team and have 2 duels going simultaneously?
I don't know if I do 2 duels simultaneously. I think that gets tricky. And again, like we were talking about the state tournament, what the image of the state tournament might be with 3 potential state final matches going on at the same time. I think that just gets a little bit muddled. I don't necessarily have to be the showpiece, and the girls don't have to be the showpiece. But if we can get girls' events there, just prior to the boys' events or just after the boys' events, and have the same home crowd there supporting and cheering on the girls and witnessing the product, I think that's what's most important. Those opportunities, whether it's at the girls varsity level or just, don't worry about the points, do it as a girls JV match, get matches that you can. Any opportunity you have to showcase the girls in your program, take advantage of it and do what you can. I think coaches this season need to be proactive. with coaches at the programs where their boys are going to wrestle, and see what opportunities you can make, and what girls opportunities you can try and create out of those, um, those duels.
All right, so last question, more taking a step back and looking at things. What advice do you have for parents? Parents who are apprehensive about allowing their kid to get involved in wrestling. Take it like a scenario: Souderton parent apprehensive about their daughter joining your program. What do you tell them about it to sell it to them that it's something that they should, at the very minimal, give a try?
I had it last week. I had a girl come out, 106 pounder. She came out early on in the season. We got her weight certified. She came to the first 2 weeks of practice, was having a blast. And from a technical standpoint, she was doing really well. And then out of the blue, mom doesn't want me to wrestle anymore. Mom says I'm going to get hurt. And it's like, God, just wait till wait till North Penn. Like, let mom come see you at an actual tournament so she can witness and see what girls wrestling actually is. Nope, I haven't seen a girl since. Girl hasn't come out, and unfortunately, I think this is something that we're still dealing with. Is stigmas surrounding, not just girls wrestling, but wrestling in general. Like, people have this perception of like old school weight cutting, and just the negatives of the sport that are still haunting us to this day. And on the girls' side, it's almost multiplied. We had Brooke on before. Brooke and I talk about it a lot. We'd hear from a parent that's not allowing their kids to wrestle. I had a brother that wrestled, and I watched him do this, and he beat himself up, and he was always injured. And it's like they're always focused on the negative stuff. I tell people, ask any girl that's been in this sport for any amount of time what the community is like, and it'll hook them. The girls wrestling community, wrestling in general, but the girls wrestling community, we've really tried to pep it up on social media. The girls wrestling community is fantastic. I had a new girl come out at Souderton last year. First year, she just walked in. She was on the soccer team. She said, I've done karate and stuff, but I heard about this. I wanted to come out and try it. She made it through last year. She was a state qualifier. She went to Fargo with us. She's done a lot of national team stuff with Pennsylvania with us already in year one. And her circle, she'll tell you hands down, is girls wrestling. She's made this her life now. And again, it's just getting people to look past the stigmas and give your kids an opportunity. You won't take it for granted. It's wrestling, boys or girls, is amazing community.
I couldn't agree more. What it entails, the people who are part of it, and what you get out of it by what you put into it. You get way more out of it than what you could possibly put into it, from a standpoint of friendships, connections, life lessons, all that stuff. So, well, Chris, I know you got to run. I couldn't thank you more for coming on and doing a little bit of preview with us in our first ever, first of hopefully many and yearly District 1 girls wrestling previews. And I look forward to when, in the future, where we talk about, full lineups and district duels and all those good things that the opportunities that the boys have, that we can, trickle down to the girls side as we continue to grow this. Next year, I hope we come on and we have, double the numbers we have this year as far as teams, which is going to bring more girls. And, this is just the beginning. I truly believe it. It's the fastest growing sport. It's no mistake that, you guys are able to sanction it in such a short amount of time and almost double the amount of schools in less than a year. So thank you for all the work you do for girls wrestling in the state of Pennsylvania and
No,
District 1.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. And again, kudos to PA Wrestling, Mike Leister, you and the rest of the guys over there, working hard to promote wrestling, not only in District 1, but around the region. PAWrestling.com is an amazing site, and I encourage anybody who's not familiar to get on board and check out the site. And keep an eye out. We're going to start doing state girls rankings. We're going to start doing District 1, District 12 combined girls rankings. And the girls side of the PA Wrestling site is going to start taking off. So stay tuned. And if there's any coaches or parents out there that have questions, reach out. It's pretty easy to get a hold of me or find me. Reach out, and I'll help however I can.
All right, great. Well, folks, that's all we got for you in your first ever District 1 girls wrestling preview. Thanking Chris Atkinson again for coming on. Mike Leister is always behind the scenes. This is Joe Youngblood. Have a great night.